Recording in progress. Anything you say can and will be used against you
Hey now.
or for you. Hold on, let me get this. There we go. Meeting info up. What's up, dude?
Not much. How are you?
Oh, I am working through what I would have told you was a very stupid program whenever we were working together initially. But the funny thing is, to get ready for this, I uh, I listened to my old podcast to try to remember what are the important things to me. Because after a long time of not coaching, I was like, what are my principles? What are my values? What are all my things? And then I listened to a podcast that you did, and you did the same thing. You switched from like high intensity, low volume to like a period of stupid high volume max training stuff. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm doing that right now just to just get general fitness. So I do 100 push-ups, 100 squats, 100 like inverted presses, and
Mhm.
a BFR session where it's like high volume, like complete to failure pump, rest, high volume, complete to failure pump, rest. And there's like a sequence of that stuff. Um, and I mean, you were kind of talking about how you saw performance benefits that didn't make sense, that a lot of coaches told you, like, this isn't going to work, and why are you doing this? And I think there are endurance and mental and performance benefits that can come from that, but there's no strength benefits. So I think that's where, like, talking to a strength coach, you're going to get kind of mixed up there because they're going to try to make you stronger, where sometimes like that high volume. Because what I've noticed is my capacity for everything that I'm doing is just going up. So what used to be like, oh, I do 25 of each of those things a day. Now I quadrupled it because I saw a post somewhere from someone smart. It might have been Climb Strong that said, if you think what you're doing is difficult, just double it. And on the surface, that seems like a dumb thing to do. And it seems like not a smart statement, but I think the root of the statement is that you need to change your relationship to what is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Forget who's that? I forget what his name is and how credible what he says is. I have no idea. Like I haven't actually looked at any of his accomplishments, but he's got the big beard and he wears the like baseball cap and he's all over podcasts and YouTube videos about like uh marketing business management and then also like life stuff. I forget what his name is, but one of the things he was talking about was like if you want to do something hard, just like wake up at like it was just like essentially the same thing, but just with life stuff. It was just like wake up at 3 a.m. and cold plunge, and then work 12-hour days for like a year, and then everything will feel easy. Because if you think whatever you're doing now is hard, just do more, and then everything else will feel easy.
oh, that's for sure. I mean, even now, um, after building Butora, I went from like 40-hour work weeks to like taking a half day off on Sunday to just recover every week from work. And then all of a sudden, when I'm working like 30-hour work weeks, it feels like I'm not doing anything.
Yeah,
But it's all relative to somebody that hasn't worked for a couple of years. If they have to go in and work 25 hours this week, they're going to complain about it, whine about it, whatever.
when I started working full time, I was like, I have no time. I can't do anything. I'm like working all the time. I was like working like 20 hours a week.
But you do for sure because no one's awake from 6 to 8. No one's asking you to work that time usually either.
Yeah,
And 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. So I guess that's why you see a lot of high performers. They do those early morning things.
yeah. I started getting up at 5. That's how I've been able to do all the like working and climbing and other stuff is I just do the opening shift. So
Mm.
my work day is done at 2,
Oh, nice.
which is sick.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. So today I have goals.
Okay.
Surprise, surprise. So we could just talk and just catch up, but I think if I'm talking to you, we'll probably get to stuff that could help people.
Yeah.
So for me, after 3 years of raising children as my main focus, and coaching and climbing have been secondary or even not at all sometimes. It was always once a week. I always had a client once a week to just kind of make sure I didn't lose it, maintain gains, right?
Yeah.
So now, though, I have found myself in a position where I can dedicate for sure the next year to fully help climbers and athletes. Um,
Yeah.
if it works out and it works out for me and my family, I'll just continue doing that. If not, maybe I'll become a diesel mechanic or something. I don't know. There's a lot of
Sick.
other interests. But the reason I'm talking to you today, especially, is because at one time I was your cheat code, right? So the strength and conditioning and the cross training was kind of a cheat code for what it took to get you to the next level. And now that I've been out of things for about 3 years, you are now my cheat code. So I really appreciate you talking with me and helping me get back up to speed. And then, yeah, maybe helping you again with whatever you need. So basically, the first thing I want to talk about, with that being the goal, is me being caught up to speed. Maybe there are some things that we were doing that worked that are still working. Maybe there are some things that have been added, and where the balance comes in with all that stuff. Uh, and since you are at the highest level of climbing, even though not everyone wants to perform at the highest level, I think that that's the place where you start so you can make adjustments and make variations for people that want to have high, lofty goals. So I guess my first question, um, when you started climbing, performance was about climbing a lot. And we worked together and we did the cross training and stuff. So, how have things changed in the last 3 years for you, um, in terms of like training and stuff? And first, in terms of coaches you've worked with at the training facility in Salt Lake City, and then second, we'll go on to climbers that have kind of helped you, um, from that like base of I climb a lot, I'm a good climber. Now I know how to be really strong and a good climber. And now we're going to be talking about the little things that you have to do at the top level. So like start in on coaches that have helped you and things that you've applied from the training facility.
Yeah. It's a good question. There's a lot of them that have been around the training center the last couple of years.
Well, who's the head coach?
Josh is the head coach.
Okay, we'll start with him so you don't leave him out. So it's
Josh is
about
awesome.
things that he's helped
um,
you with.
yeah. And Josh has been great. I feel like the thing that I really get the most with Josh is um, like comp prep and like mental prep. He's kind of like the rock that is always there to like A, keep me on track, B, keep me like you and everyone else that knows me knows that I'm kind of like the epitome of ADHD and like choo 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 choo. And so Josh is always there to just be like, hey, back here, hey, back here.
Hmm.
Hey, aren't you gonna do that comp in a couple weeks? What are you doing to train for that? When are you coming in to train to the TC? What's the slab look like? Um, and he has like a lot of responsibilities because he's got boulder team, lead team, everyone that's in the TC, also running the TC. So we don't work full time together just because he doesn't have the time to do that with all the athletes that are in town. And so he's like will keep me on track. And then when I'm like, hey, I'm struggling, I need this, and I'll reach out to him and bounce things off of him. And then work with him on like in the TC when we're there doing stuff together. Whether it's something that he has an idea and he's like, hey, I've been seeing this and I feel like this is going to work. And like, I've been seeing this pattern. We should do this. And like, these are some ideas that I think will help. Or if it's something that I see, like, hey, I think that this could be really cool. Can we implement this? And then he'll help me implement it.
When you say patterns, do you mean just like patterns in setting for World Cups, or is that what you guys are watching?
Yeah. And so sometimes it's like, these are like mistakes that you make at like every World Cup. I've been seeing this. So like, what if we do this drill to try to like help that? Or sometimes it's like, I've been seeing a lot of these moves at a lot of World Cups, and like I've been noticing this trend because he watches all of the World Cups, has been watching all the World Cups for the last like 10 years.
Yeah.
Because he was competing and then he became the coach. Like, I think 2016 was my first World Cup, and that World Cup was one of his last World Cup was in 2018, but in 2016 he was like the team captain. So he's been doing it since before then, but I think every World Cup since at least 2016. And since he became the head coach, he's gone to every single round of every single World Cup to watch all of the boulders. And then,
what are some examples of like patterns, like in the last year and the year before that? You could talk about patterns in your own climbing that you're failing at that you had to adjust, or you can talk about setting patterns.
patterns that I've been failing at / patterns of. Um, that's like
Setting
okay. So like,
let's start with setting patterns. Those are kind of
start with setting patterns. And I'll go back because I feel like that is easier. So like right now, depending on who's setting which World Cup, there's been like one thing we see a lot of is lateral dynamic movement, usually fast hands, fast feet at the second panel of the wall. So it used to be fast hands, fast feet, or fast hands at the first panel. That was kind of like the thing was like if there was a Cordo move, it was like pull on Cordo move and then slow top or
like
powerful top or something. And now it's slow start, hard start, and then fast hands, fast feet to the left or to the right. And I bet if you asked him, he could tell you how many were to the right versus how many were to the left this last year. And that depends on like who's setting which comp, but generally it's been like, and all the setters have different kinds of styles. But that's like a new pattern. So that's something we've been trying to work on, or at least at the beginning of the season we're doing a lot of, was like fast hands and fast feet at the top of the wall. There's also like a resurgence of something.
Do you think they're doing that just to like mess with your mind?
No,
if they started you slow, then you get into like slab, calm, slow movement, and then you have to shift your brain into rah. And
I want to
like
say that it's
easier
more
to shift
like
the other way.
I want to say that it's like so there's a French setter Jackie Goodoff who's like he's retired now but he's old super experienced IFSC route setter from Vaughan and I talked to him like 3 years ago when I did a camp with him and he was like oh the new thing is like Cordo at the top of the wall and I was like that's crazy
It's
and then
what?
sure enough
Top
3 years later Cordo like coordination
okay.
And maybe it was, and there was someone else who said that. It was like a while ago, and now it's like definitely the thing. And I think part of it is like the show, because if you see people flying across the wall at the top of the wall, it's definitely more showy. And then the other one is like it's easy to commit when your feet are like 2 feet off the ground.
Yeah.
Committing when you're like 8 to 10 feet off the ground, I think, is a lot harder. So I think that's also part of it. I'm pretty against this. I don't. This is not my favorite style, and I'm really excited for it to be over and to see what the next thing is.
Yeah.
um, but that was like definitely the thing this year. Um, was like, and it was a lot of like run and jump. So it's not just like fast hands. Like I think in the OQS, it was like fast hands at the top of the wall. So it was like a lot of paddle dynos at the top of the wall. And now it's like they'll do the volume stack run across. And it's like you have a jug and then you run across a bunch of big feet and then you grab like a jug and it's usually like one, two, and then a sideways one. And then like one, two, this with the feet. Or like a toe hook that you have to catch. We saw a lot of that this year. A lot of like what they call the Joker boulder. So this is like the thing that is the setters get their free reign of it because there's like a blueprint now that the setters have to follow for every round of like this is the Cordo boulder, this is the slow boulder, this is the power boulder,
Oh, really?
and then they
What
get the
did it
Joker
used to be?
boulder.
It was like risk. I mean, shoot, we used to talk about this all the time.
Yeah, the Rick scale.
The RIC scale, the risk intensity
Yeah,
coordination. So they don't do that anymore.
I think they probably still reference the Rick scale, but each boulder now is supposed to be like a certain kind of boulder,
Uh,
um, which I also don't necessarily love, but it is just is what it is. Uh, I'm and the older I get, the more I just want to grab hold and pull down on holds. The more simple stuff I want. Um, so that was another pattern. I personally am feeling like we're going to see a resurgency of rock climbing in
yeah,
the World Cups.
grab hold,
Um,
pull hard.
yeah, grab, hold, pull hard. Especially since like Flat Hold just released a new series that like in the description of the hold they're like this is like supposed to be like climbing on granite and it's supposed to be like old school. They like said old school in the style, and so Flat Hold is definitely leading. Like they're the leader in the climbing hold company brand that people use in World Cups, and like they still have a big hand in World Cups. And the owner menu still sets World Cups, and so I think that I think that this is like very good idea to look at what's going to be happening and what will continue to happen.
Hmm. It's interesting, like to hear how the hold companies and the types of holds, the setters, the climbers, all of that stuff has become like mental and tactical preparation. Where
Yeah,
like your first comp or when you're coaching young kids, you're trying to get them to just read the route.
yeah,
And they're just like, oh, I see all the holds. I read the route. And then it's like, no, this hold means this foot. And then they start to read the route that way. And now it's what hold company is making what holds and who's setting and who's climbing them well and not well. And there's different levels to this stuff. So
yeah,
yeah,
totally.
I think that's really interesting. So you also said that which I also think is very simple that hasn't developed is that the one of the most important things for a coach to be able to do is manage you to help you with your compliance. And that'll happen with like a young climber. It's their first time. You keep pulling them back and it's not just your ADHD or whatever it is, which I don't know what it is, but I appreciate it anyway because it seems like enthusiasm to do what I've ever asked you to do.
Yeah,
But that's the same for a brand new climber or a climber that is at the highest level. They need a coach to not necessarily tell them what to do, but be like, hey, are you doing what you're supposed to be doing? I'll support you however I can, but I need you to get your focus where it needs to be.
yeah,
What were
totally.
some of the things that were taking your focus away, I guess? Or what are just in general things
Um, I
that
mean,
take
like
the focus away from a World Cup climber?
on the simplest level, it's like things like work, like working now, full time. And then on like more distracting is like I start to get psyched on rock climbing, or like I'll start to do this, and then like um, so like I mean I tend to like take too much on my plate, and then I tend to get psyched on like lots of things. So like right now I've been psyched on climbing in Little Cottonwood, so I've been going up there at least one day a week and going climbing, and then I'll get psyched on climbing at pushers, so I'll go like climbing there once a week and like try to send my pusher projects, and then like we've been sending these mint boulders at BP, so I've been going and like trying to send my mint projects. And then the next thing I know, I went to the TC for the first time in like 2 months. Yes, I think it was yesterday. I was climbing a cogma and then going to pusher and then going to climb the mint projects. And Josh is like, "Hey, when are you guys going to come in and train for the World Cups?"
Yeah. So what is your goal? And yeah, this is an important thing for just every climber to know. Like, what is your goal? Is your goal to be awesome at pusher and mint and little cottonwood? If that's your goal, then yeah, there's no problem with it, right?
Yeah,
But
exactly. Yeah, and that's a big something I've been trying to figure out and like manage, and I feel like I've been doing a good job. Is like managing my goals because they I have goals, but then I have a lot of goals,
yeah,
and I like start to like bounce between them, and then also I like managing the difference between what I know will work for me and what doesn't seem like it's going to work, but I know it's like this is actually working for me, and I know it's silly, but I feel like I'm doing the best right now.
mm,
Versus also like I'm getting distracted and I'm going off on little side quests.
yeah,
Because like I feel like when I like what I'm doing right now feels like it's working pretty well, and I could definitely do more and put myself in a slightly better position. But for how much time I have and how much energy I have, I feel like um, I am doing a lot of the right things, even though I haven't been in the TC in like a couple of months. Like what I really feel like and like I have like backlogged data of it too to see and be like, okay, this worked really well for me. Like when I was climbing a lot outside and like if it wasn't necessarily on competition blocks, but it was on like something that I was really psyched on. I was like, trying really hard and I got really strong doing that. And so if sometimes I like do things that aren't necessarily like because a lot of it's like if I want to do competitions, let's call them the TC. But for me, it's like, well, if I want to do well at World Cups, I need to just get really strong. And so that means like trying really hard boulders in Little Cottonwood or trying really hard mint boulders or just climbing a lot on whatever I'm psyched on that day because I know that it'll just help me get really strong.
yeah, yeah. And you know how to measure your strength. So you can do all these extra things, and if you go measure baselines and they're still pretty close to like an elite level baseline for general fitness, then you're probably doing okay. Um, One thing I've noticed, which may speak to, again, like a mental fitness thing, is that if you're psyched, like right now, I'm psyched on this mountain bike I have. I've been riding this mountain bike for like 3 months, and now I'm like getting fast. I'm getting into like the top 20% of riders on different trails I get on.
Mhm.
But I was doing like normal things that I've done for a long time that I know make me strong and all this stuff, but I wasn't getting into that headspace of excitement and like this full flow state intensity.
Yeah,
And so I think as long as it doesn't detract from your goal, I think that there's a place for that. I'm just not 100% sure. I'll find out when I start climbing again. whether all this stuff I've been doing was any help, like the headspace stuff. Because going down a hill at 30 miles an hour, like bouncing over rocks and stuff, is super intense. And you get the same flow state that you get, or excitement, or whatever you want to call it, when you've reached your pump level and you have to do three or four more moves. Like you get the same, like, I'm slightly not in control of this situation, but I'm going to try as hard as I can to be in control of this situation.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're psyched on those things and they are bringing you to that place, I think that there is a place for that to transition um, into your World Cup climbing. Like, how do you think it would? I guess that's a good question. How do you think
Yeah.
things that you're doing are going to transition into your performance?
So, I mean, kind of, I feel like there was like, I had um, a really low top rate on slabs this year, like a really bad. And I remember it was like, this is the first time in my life I've had a really low top rate on
Yeah, that's
slabs.
weird. That's always been like your strong suit.
That's always been my strong suit. But everything else, like, I there was like a couple of cordo moves throughout the circuit where I was like, oh man, like that feels really hard. Like that feels crazy hard. And that is climbing on plastic cordo TC. So the slab and the cordo moves that are like, okay, I could definitely improve there. And that's my lack of time in the TC. But then everywhere else where I like came short was like I couldn't hold the hold or I couldn't pull down on the hold. It wasn't like my foot was in the wrong place. Like there was one boulder in the whole circuit, I think, where I was like, oh my, I was just not doing the right beta.
Yeah.
Every other boulder was like I was doing the right beta. I just like couldn't hold the holds or couldn't squeeze hard enough or couldn't.
Yeah.
Um, and so that is for me. It's like okay, well, like if I can just get better at grabbing the hold and then pulling down on the hold, which is just like rock climbing strength.
Yeah. That's just strength. That's why you reached out and you were like, hey, I need to do a strength cycle.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I'm just not strong enough to pull down on the holds. Um, and that is just like for me. And so what I'm like, my plan has kind of been, and also like, I didn't talk about this a lot at all on the internet was like, so after the first World Cup of the year, China, um, first World Cup of the year, I made the semifinal, felt like pretty bad actually. It was like two of my uh, I did both rounds and was like, wow, I felt off. I felt bad. I felt like I was like totally jet lagged and just like felt really weak, and then ended up performing pretty well. So I was pretty psyched. I was like, that's kind of what I wanted. Like that's the fitness level that I want is that if I have like an off day, I can still be in the top 24 athletes at the World Cup. And then after that, like 5 days or something, I was setting and I hit my hand on a hold on like a dyno. I was like forerunning and I smashed my hand um, and got like a super heinously bad bone bruise and like couldn't close my fist for
Oh,
like
God.
basically the whole circuit. So China happened, like then I hurt my hand, and then I think 3 weeks later was Brazil, and I think I climbed once in between when I hurt my hand in Brazil because I couldn't close my fist. I would like wake up in the morning and I like couldn't close my hand because it hurt so bad and it was so swollen, and it would like ice it all day and take a bunch of ibuprofen and like was basically like totally crippled. So I just rested 3 weeks, flew to Brazil, um, tried to warm up in ice. I couldn't warm up because it was too painful to hold holds. Took like 800 milligrams of ibuprofen and just did the round. Didn't do well, obviously, because I hadn't climbed in 3 weeks. And then Salt Lake was a week later, so I just didn't climb until ISO Salt Lake City. Still couldn't close my hand. Warmed up in ISO, took a bunch of ibuprofen, did the round, and then dropped out of the next World Cup because I was like, I still can't close my hand. This still sucks super bad. I don't know what it is. Got an MRI. They were like, it's a bone bruise, so you won't make it any worse if you climb on it. Was like kind of the thing because until Salt Lake City, like I'd gotten an X-ray, I had gotten ultrasound, but I didn't like hadn't gotten MRI yet. And they're like, we don't know what it is. Like, can't see anything. We don't know. Maybe you broke your hand. Like, it was like it felt like it could have been a broken bone. Um, or like yeah, I have no idea what it was. So they're like, okay, you can climb on it. It's gonna hurt for 6 months, but you won't make it any worse unless you hit it against something. So that's why I dropped out of the next World Cup and like started just like climbing through the pain. And then 2, 3, it was like 2.5 weeks or 3 weeks after that, I did burn, and that was my worst one of the year. And it was just because I hadn't trained in like 4 months, I think, at that point. It was like by the time I did burn, it had been like 4 months since I hurt my hand. I
Mm.
climbed like less than 5 times. And then like 2 weeks after that or a week after that was Innsbruck, and that was like the end of the circuit for me. Um, so then like after that, so that sucked. It was like this. It was like a blown World Cup circuit.
Yeah.
And the results were like they were like for me, I felt like they were pretty bad as compared to like my previous seasons. They were just like slightly worse than like the last 2 seasons. So a lot of people were like, "Oh, it was just like Ben's normal season. Like he does okay at the first one, and then kind of bombs the rest of the year." And I was like, I couldn't use my left hand the whole circuit. I was literally climbing one hand the whole year. Um, so this last like since Innsbruck, which has been like I think after
How is your hand now?
it's much better. It
Oh,
still hurts a little bit, but like I want to say I'm back to like 90% of where I was at before China. I came back fast, which was nice. I still can't like push on my hand like this. Like I can almost crack my knuckles again. Like that was like kind of one thing I've been using to test it is like I can crack these knuckles, but it hurts too much to crack these ones. But as far as like squeezing goes, it's fine. Some days I'll climb a lot and it'll be like it'll feel stiff. Um, but it's much better. It's like I don't really notice it that much anymore. So I've been just trying to get strong again and be able to like grab holds again and pull down on them because that was like the thing I couldn't do.
yeah.
Um, so that's like and so I was like, that's just what I've been trying to do. Is like I'm just trying to speed race, getting strong again.
Nice. Well, the
uh,
bonus is that you already have a huge baseline for strength, so it'll all come back pretty fast.
yeah, like I've never, yeah, obviously never. I only know what I hear from you or like other coaches are online. But yeah, it's been coming back quite fast. I was like, I forget what I like saw like a TikTok snippet of a podcast where someone was talking about. It was like that big bald weightlifter dude. He's like, I think what he said was like, if you train for like 8 months or however many months to build like a certain amount of threshold,
Mm.
then if you like take a big period of time off and go back to your baseline, it'll take like a tenth of the time to get back up to that baseline of strength,
Yeah. Yeah,
which I forget what it was.
I don't know what it is either, but I know that I started strength training in high school, and like I think in college I got to where I could bench press 315, which is quite a lot.
Yeah,
And
that's a lot of weight.
but now like I started working with as a personal trainer for a couple of people in this town that I'm living in right now just to kind of get to know the community and stuff. And I guess it'd been 3 years since I bench pressed, and I sat down and bench pressed 225 for a set of six.
Yeah,
And it's just because for I don't know 15 years I regularly lifted weights and got my baseline, which is like you got your baselines up really high. So you'll probably be within 50 to 60% of your baseline just off the couch.
yeah,
So yeah, that's a big deal that I think when we talk about cross training and weightlifting and stuff, I don't think you should be the best bench presser, deadlifter, or squat person. But like when we started working together, we actually had some numbers from people that were the best. And so that was like the best climbers. And so
yeah,
that was like a great baseline to like get to. So once you get your baseline to some point, it's just about maintaining that. And adding skill to that.
Yeah,
But if it
exactly.
falls below that, then you get into the situation like where what you're talking about, where you are like, oh, I'm limited by how hard I can just grab something and pull it to my waist. And
Yeah,
then if you measure that, I mean, you can tell me like the distance between strength training and that happening, I would imagine it was pretty far. And it wasn't you'd been strength training close to the time where you weren't strong. Right.
yeah,
I mean, that's
yeah,
just logic, right? So when I a lot of people will when they talk to me about training and training for climbing, they just think I'm a strength coach. And I'm not really a strength coach. I just I have CSCS, so I am a strength and conditioning specialist that just understands that if your baseline of strength is not at least equal to the best people in the world, and that's a way easier thing to get. So if it's not equal to the best people in the world, then you're going to have trouble competing with them. And you can
yeah,
easily get as strong as them, right? Like, I mean, not super easy. I mean, it might take 4 to 6 months, but you could dedicate 4 to 6 months to getting really strong and climbing and have like a 70-30 split to strength training. And then for the rest of your life, maybe you have a 80-20 and you're only strength training 20% of the time to make sure you keep that baseline and then just add in all the skill work that, I mean, obviously at the highest level, it's mostly skill.
yeah. A lot of skill. And then I still like, yeah. I mean, it's climbing's interesting like that, where it's like there's so much you can dive into the skill or you can dive into the strength, and you see a lot of people, and like all of the people in my life are just constantly talking about the skill, and I'm just like, yeah, but I still am like, I watch them grab the thing and they pull the thing down. I'm like, if when I can do that, I feel much better on the World Cup. Like, I feel so much better when I'm able to grab the damn holds and then pull on the holds with
Yeah, I
like,
mean, the high intensity strength training does affect your hormones too. So it does give you kind of a aggro rah like feeling when you
yeah,
do it. And so, I mean, there just are instances where you need that.
yeah,
And you can like dance around and be pretty and find body position and do all that stuff for a lot of the boulders, some of the boulders. But if that is your style, and you have to grab a big pinch and rip it to your waist and you can't shift into rah, then you're just limited. That's your limit right there. So
yeah,
I just think strength is a really easy thing to develop.
yeah,
It's it's not complicated. It just takes a lot of dedicated time, and a good program that you will complete every time.
yeah. And it's a nice thing to just have in your back pocket. Like,
Yeah.
but that's like, and that's interesting too, is like, there is that, but then I do see a lot of athletes that I'm like, they just are lacking the other thing. Um, like Luke Gerhardt
Mm.
is one. I saw him yesterday. He was at the gym, and he's like, he's on the complete opposite spectrum, where he's like such a freak when he's like, as far as like just grabbing things and jumping to things, but he's like missing a couple of like huge little building blocks that like hinder him so much. Like, dude, you're so strong. You can just grab all of the things. But he's like, it's like a little bit of here and then a little bit of technique and like a lot of. I see him pulling himself off of his feet a lot. He's like so good at this that as soon as he just leaves the foot, and then as soon as he loses the foot, he's off the wall because he can't do one arm on the hold.
Mm.
Like, you also need to be able to keep your foot on.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah, it's funny. Uh, I have a picture of him just sitting on a hold as like the tiniest D climber. He was so small when like I remember working with him that he could just sit on a jug
Sit on
and
holds.
ice. But
him and his brother are a really interesting combo because they're complete opposites.
they're very different. Very
Like,
different people, very different climbers, wild and like
yeah,
intensity and calm and collected and methodical. Yeah.
yeah. Josh is so methodical. He's great. We did the whole circuit together. We were like basically roommates the whole time. It was he. I picked his brain a lot. He's very methodical and he thinks about things a lot. And like